This photo is not altered. Those are his hands and his arms, and they are big.
His left fist is more than 17 inches around. His ring finger is 5 inches in circumference. He has 1.5 million followers on social media. He's a pro arm wrestler, and he is joining us here live in studio this morning. Jeff, welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. I want to start because you just hit, well, okay, let's start with this. Let's turn so the camera.
Whoa, yo!
You can see my hand versus your hand. Well, how did you get such big hands and arms?
I was born this way.
Yeah?
With a little bit bigger arms and hands, and it just kind of stayed the same as I grew up. I also grew up on a farm, so I used to do a lot of farm chores. And
today we're leaving the weightlifting world behind and going into the intense, brutal world of arm wrestling. And who better to guide us than a legend himself, the mighty Jeff Dabe, also known as Popeye. Now, before we dive into Jeff's incredible story, let's just take a moment to appreciate what we just saw. That kind of power, that kind of dominance, it's truly mind-blowing.
Alex! Alex! Come on, y'all rush me. I want to get out of here. Here it is. Signature.
But trust me, there's a whole lot more to Jeff Dabe than just strength. So buckle up, because we're about to meet a man who went from farm boy to world champion.
I got a little pop, and I got a big pop. No, that flat can.
Jeff Dabe isn't your typical world champion athlete. Forget fancy training facilities and protein shakes. This legend built his strength the old-fashioned way. Hard work and genes that would make Popeye blush. But let's rewind the clock a bit, and let's be honest, the first thing you notice about Jeff is his, well, everything. He wasn't exactly born with a silver spoon, but more like giant forearms. To really understand how big Jeff's hands are, you have to know how big Larrett Devin's hands are first. Just take a look.
No, we'll get a picture of you comparing that.
Yeah.
Because everyone asks.
Holy fuck. Okay, let's see. Okay, so let's.
Well, there you go. We get a comparison.
Base. Holy shit.
Same size. Same size essentially.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Monster.
Jeff Dabe's physique is undeniably impressive. Those massive forearms could easily make you wonder if there's some kind of medical explanation behind it, right? Maybe gigantism, a condition where the body produces too much growth hormone, or perhaps acromegaly, which affects adults? Well, the answer, incredibly, is no. Doctors have thoroughly examined Jeff, and while they might be scratching their heads a little, they haven't found any underlying medical condition that explains his size.
Your parents were like, oh, he's got really big hands and arms. Okay, how old are you here? 6, 7, 8?
probably about 10, 11.
Oh, okay.
Very handsome.
Terrible.
I like your shirt and tie.
And do you know why you have such large hands?
I went to a bunch of doctors, and they did a bunch of tests, and they never really come up with any conclusions. I do not have gigantism or elephantitis, and that's kind of the first thing they tested for. Otherwise, they didn't really have any kind of clues.
Look at you as a little guy here.
Yeah.
Oh, what a cute picture.
Like, as a kid, were you embarrassed about it? Did you feel different? No?
No, I was always that way, so it's never no different for me, you know.
Yeah.
It never bothered me.
Imagine going to the doctor as a kid and being told, nope, you're not sick, you're just built different. That's essentially what happened with Jeff. He wasn't a science experiment gone wrong. He was just a lucky recipient of some seriously strong genes. Now, this doesn't mean there weren't concerns. When Jeff was young, his parents naturally worried about his unusual size. They took him to doctors to rule out any medical conditions, and thankfully, everything came back clear. Growing up on a farm in Minnesota, those massive arms definitely came in handy. Bale hay, wrestle stubborn cows, fix fences, you name it. Young Jeff could outmuscle it all. No wonder his classmates quickly picked up on his resemblance to the spinach-loving sailor man and started calling him Popeye. The nickname stuck, and even today it's a constant reminder of Jeff's unique physique and superhuman strength. Life on the farm wasn't just about showing off his strength, though. It taught him a work ethic in Jeff that would translate perfectly into the world of arm wrestling. Long hours spent toiling under the sun built incredible endurance and grip strength. And guess what? These are two crucial ingredients for arm wrestling dominance. Even back then, there were hints of the champion Jeff would become. Local contests and friendly arm wrestles with friends were just the beginning. Little did anyone know these early tests of strength were laying the foundation for an arm wrestling legend. Turns out arm wrestling wasn't just a fun party trick for Jeff. Even back in high school, he discovered a passion for the competitive side of the sport. There's something about the one-on-one challenge, the test of pure strength and willpower, that really got Jeff hooked. One fateful charity event turned out to be a turning point. Jeff, still a teenager, decided to enter his first official arm wrestling match. Let's just say, it wasn't much of a contest.
And plus I beat all the adults and a couple of people that come with the group. So I just kind of got hooked into it, and they talked me into coming, started going to tournaments.
Jeff absolutely dominated everyone he faced, from scrawny kids to grown men. His natural strength and talent were on full display, and everyone knew they were witnessing something special. This wasn't just some farm boy with big arms. This was a born arm wrestler. But sometimes life throws a curveball just when you think you've got it all figured out. In 1996, during a particularly intense match, Jeff suffered a nasty injury to his right elbow. The pain was excruciating, and doctors warned him that competing at a high level might not be possible anymore. Devastated but not defeated, Jeff made the tough decision to step away from arm wrestling. For over a decade, his dream of becoming a champion was put on hold. 10 years is a long time to be away from something you love. Many athletes would have called it quits entirely after such a long break, but Jeff just couldn't shake the arm wrestling itch. The fire still burned bright inside him. He missed the competition, but there was just one problem. His injured right elbow wouldn't be the same. Instead of giving up entirely, he decided to get creative. He knew his right arm wouldn't be the same, but that didn't mean he couldn't compete.
Back into it at 48, but they ended up talking me into it, and I ended up winning and beating the guy that had the Minnesota title, so I was drawn right back into it again.
Fast forward to 2012, and Jeff, now a seasoned 48-year-old, found that competitive itch coming back up. Whatever the reason was, the fire was back, and Jeff craved the challenge of the arm wrestling table once more. There was just one snag: his old injury. Remember that elbow issue from way back? Yeah, it wasn't exactly a minor setback. Lifting heavy equipment all day as a machine operator certainly didn't help either. So what's a determined arm wrestler to do? Improvise, adapt, and overcome, as they say. With his right arm out of commission, Jeff decided to take a different approach. He figured, hey, I'm not one-armed, why not give my left arm a shot? And guess what? Surprisingly, Jeff's left hand was bigger than his right.
For those that have been curious about the Hulk hands, my left hand is a little bit bigger than my right, but my right hand still just barely fits into the gloves. And when I match them up, it's pretty close. But my right hand thumb is a little bit bigger than my left, so I wish it would have been on this hand. It'd be much better for arm wrestling.
Believe it or not, this strategy turned out to be a game changer. It turns out Lefty can be just as mighty. He wasn't going in half-cocked this time. This was a whole new challenge, and Jeff was ready to conquer it. And conquer it he did. Local bar? More like a launching pad for a legendary comeback. Jeff entered a casual arm wrestling tournament held at a local bar, not expecting much fanfare. Maybe a little friendly competition, a chance to test the waters. But Jeff wasn't there to make friends. He was there to win, and win he did, arm wrestling his way through the competition like a man possessed. But this wasn't just any victory. This was him beating the Minnesota State champion. That's one way to make a comeback, right? Jeff Dabe, the Lefty King, was back. This local victory was just the beginning, and with that, Jeff started seeking out bigger tournaments. He entered regional competitions where he emerged victorious time and time again. Soon, the whispers reached the ears of the big leagues, the prestigious World Arm Wrestling League, WWAL. The WAL is the apex of professional arm wrestling, a stage where only the strongest and most skilled athletes compete. Jeff received an invitation to join this elite group. It was a dream come true, a chance to test his mettle against the best in the world, and Jeff, never one to shy away from a challenge, jumped at the opportunity. The competition in the WAL was fierce, just as you just say right there. Jeff faced off against giants of the sport, men with years of experience and physiques sculpted for arm wrestling dominance. But Jeff racked up wins, surprising everyone with his power and resilience. The world was finally starting to take notice of the farm boy with the Popeye arms. Years of hard work, relentless training. Well, we'll get to his unique training methods later, and a strong belief in himself ended in a moment of pure glory. In 2021, Jeff Dabe stood on the biggest stage in arm wrestling and conquered the world. He defeated his opponent in the International Federation of Arm Wrestling IFAA World Championship, becoming the undisputed king of the left-handed arm wrestling world. By now, you're probably chomping at the bit to know Jeff's secret training formula. Does he spend hours lifting weights and grunting like a bodybuilder? Well, chill out, because here's the surprising truth. Jeff Dabe's training methods are anything but ordinary. What exactly is Jeff's secret weapon? Hard work, pure and simple.
No. Do you work out?
No.
Just the farm life,
the
which
farm.
is like working out every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do band work, just with like the bands.
Yeah, the rubber bands.
Just more endurance.
Okay.
Because the heavier weights get so hard in the joints, especially as you get older, you
Yeah.
know. So I just do more endurance. I might have to step it up a little bit because the young guys are starting to.
Remember those years toiling away on the farm? Turns out that was his ultimate training ground. Lifting hay bales, shoveling manure, wrestling with stubborn machinery. All that hard labor gave him his incredible strength and endurance. It wasn't shiny, but it was effective. Jeff built a foundation of raw power that would leave even the most seasoned gym rats speechless. And here's another thing that might surprise you. Jeff doesn't spend hours perfecting fancy arm wrestling techniques. Don't get me wrong, technique is important, but Jeff's approach is more about brute force and unwavering determination. He overpowers his opponents with pure strength, kind of like a bulldozer clearing a path.
Nowadays with the internet, there's so much to look up. You can find different ways of training.
Yeah.
But you want to work on your hand and wrist, like your forearm and bicep. So if you can keep everything tight to your body. But when people don't realize when you first start out, you have a lot of aches and pains because you're putting a lot of pressure on the joints and muscles.
Oh,
Yeah.
sure, that makes sense.
So it's just like any athlete where the more you train it, the better condition it gets. So you have less injuries that way.
We've got
Of course, we can't forget his biggest supporter, his wife, Gina. According to Jeff, her motto is WWWJD. What would Jeff do? In their household, that translates to facing any challenge head-on with unwavering grit and determination. Now, that's some serious motivational fuel.
Goddamn, Jeff is stoic.
Speaking of technique, Jeff does have a signature move he likes to use, the hook. Jeff Dabe isn't all about crushing arms, he's a family man too. He's got a loving wife named Gina, and together they've raised a family. And one more thing, he still uses a flip phone. When he's not arm wrestling, you might find him tending to his surprising hobby, raising mini horses. Yes, those adorable little equine companions. It's a fun contrast to his tough guy arm wrestling image. And get this, Jeff's also a bit of a fish whisperer. He's got a beautiful koi fish pond that he takes great care of. Speaking of impressive size, Jeff's natural proportions extend beyond his arms. His wrestling nickname isn't just about strength, it applies to his entire physique. He wears a size 38 ring, which is about the diameter of a toilet paper roll.
Hi, I'm Jeff Dabe, and I have the world's largest wedding ring. I had my fingers all measured by a jeweler, and my ring finger is the biggest at 4.78 inches with a ring size of 38. It's the size of a woman's small bracelet, and that is a quarter I'm holding inside to try to give you some kind of a size reference. It may not look very big in my hands, but there's not much that looks big in my hand.
Imagine trying to find a ring that fits those massive fingers. Just another interesting fact about this extraordinary arm wrestler. Now, becoming the world champion wasn't a walk in the park. Jeff poured his heart and soul into training, constantly pushing himself to new limits. Dedication and determination are two words that perfectly describe him. Let's not forget the challenges. Jeff experiences little discomfort due to his large hand. And what are they? Let's find out.
Are there challenges from having such large hands?
The hardest part is just finding clothes to fit right and gloves.
Gloves.
Oh,
yeah,
sure.
what do you do for gloves? Do you have them custom made?
There's a lady that made me some knitted ones.
Yeah.
Just like chopper style.
Yeah.
And they're really nice. But otherwise, growing up, I just learned not to wear gloves. Put them in your pockets, and
How's texting?
I can do it. I have a flip phone I use.
What?
Still use a flip phone.
Hold on a second. We're just changing the topic of this discussion. You have how old is that thing?
This one's like a couple years old, but they can still get these.
Yeah.
It's just easier to text on this instead of like the iPad.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
There's
Sure.
a little,
That makes sense.
even though I got to hit the numbers a couple times, it's just easier.
So next time you see someone with Popeye-like arms, remember the name Jeff Dabe, the farm boy, the mini horse whisperer, and the undisputed king of arm wrestling.